What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be talking about 5 things that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 can steal from Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity in order to make it a better game. So for those who don't know, if you've been living under a rock, that Age of Calamity is a prequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild in the planned trilogy of games. So you have The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which released in 2017. You have Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, which is set 100 years before the events of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild in the Calamity War against Ganon. And then you have The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, which is going to be some odd time after the original Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. So it's a planned trilogy here, but there are a number of things that they can actually steal from Age of Calamity in order to make a better Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel. So let's go ahead and get right into this. And we're starting off with quality of life improvements when it comes to the overworld map, tracking items, quests, and doing different things. This is definitely one of the things that Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity absolutely nails. Any place where you want to find something to do when it comes to the organization, the enemies, what items you can get, where you need to go, how to track them, where to go to level up. Everything is so neatly organized, and the quality of life in terms of getting to where you need to get to and finding different places is just so good. The icons, nice and vibrant. You have very good organizational tools by pressing the left button and being able to look at all the different services that you have with items. You have the Sheikah sensor to where you can pretty much track anything that you want to get in different quests or if it's at a store. There are so many options here that even blows away the other Warriors games when it comes to quality of life. It makes me just want to continue grinding, continue playing, continue getting different materials for upgrades for all of my characters. It makes it nice, tight, easy to go through, and I absolutely love that about Age of Calamity. Number 4, more story elements and voice acting. So the one knock, or one of the many knocks, but one of the bigger things that people said about Breath of the Wild is that the story was not involved enough. The story wasn't big enough. It didn't have enough elements in there to get you hooked or engaged. It was a good story overall when you look at it, all things considered, but while you're playing the game, it felt a little bit lacking just because of how massive the game was and how few voice scenes and cutscenes there were. However, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is a completely different beast. It has a ton of voice cutscenes. It has beautiful, greatly animated cutscenes with all the different characters, and I think that having that style to where you have those constant different cutscenes in between those chapters and things to set up the story and let the narration take its place, that could be a very big benefit to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel. I think that they could do that before you go into certain elements. They did it in the flashbacks, which were optional, by the way. You didn't have to go there. So some people saw a lot less cutscenes than other people when they played the game, but it would be pretty cool after you beat a certain boss or after you do a certain thing, there is some type of cutscene and it's guaranteed to see that. And if they did that multiple times, and if you want to do flashbacks or other stuff like that, you can add that in as extra, but actually having those cutscenes trigger when you beat a certain boss or when you do a certain thing, which they did have some of that, but having more of it like Age of Calamity did with a set story that has the narration and the overview on it was really good. And I think that they can introduce that into the Breath of the Wild sequel. Even though it's an open world game and it's very different, Age of Calamity, it's easier to do that because it is a chapter based type of game where you're going through with certain cutscenes and certain side quests and certain main chapters and the sub chapters. So they can do it. The structure of Breath of the Wild is a bit different, but I do think it is possible. So that would be the number 4 thing on the list. Number 3, multiple playable characters. Now, before people go crazy in the chat, I do not want it to be like Genshin Impact or anything where you're out here pulling different characters. That's not what I want. I simply want to be able to use at least more than one character. So people have talked for the longest time, and that's why they love these Warriors games. You get to use all these cool people, but most people just want to be able to use Princess Zelda. That's like the biggest thing here is like, yo, can we use Princess Zelda? So that would be what I would want. So multiple playable characters means let me use Princess Zelda like I can use Princess Zelda in Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. But obviously Princess Zelda is always intertwined with the story and she's doing different things. It's very difficult, whereas the Warriors games, that's different, how it's planned. But I'm hoping that we will be able to use at least 2 characters in this game. Even if it's not Princess Zelda, a side character that you can use for some missions or some type of things would be really cool, because that's one of the best thing about Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. The multiple characters in this game are absolutely amazing. The different weapons that they have, what they can do, their abilities, their skills. It gives you a whole new outlook on the amazingness of Breath of the Wild and those characters and who they are, and it kind of gives you a little bit more of their personality and how they fight as well, whether it's cocky, whether it's more smooth, whether it's more brash and abrasive, and it kind of fits their personality. You just feel like you know them more by seeing how they fight. Is it elegant, like Urbosa, for example, and all the spinning and stuff that she does? So I would love to see multiple characters that you can use, and I would say probably just like two, maybe 3 characters along with Link. I think it'd be pretty cool, even if it was for just set pieces, right? There's just set pieces or set chapter or set area to where you use that other character, and then we can just use Link the rest of the time. Number 2, dynamic boss battles and sub bosses. So this is something that Breath of the Wild actually had, but I wanted to just give a special shout out to Age of Calamity, because Age of Calamity has these crazy boss battles, and there's stuff that I'm not going to show you guys, but it's really cool in this game when it comes to fighting different guardians and when it comes to fighting certain enemies that you fought maybe before in Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and when it comes to just basically doing things in the game and how the boss battles and sub bosses play out. It's very cool and it's very fun. It's one of those things that made me just say, oh my gosh, look at how this fight played out. Look at how this fight played out. And yes, there was some awesome stuff with what you could do in Breath of the Wild. And yeah, there's some crazy things. But the way that battles play out, how they're dynamic with being able to take advantage of when you need to use like a stasis, or when you need to use a bomb power-up, or when you need to use something else, magnesis, for example, just creates a whole new flow to battle that I really do like in Age of Calamity. It's like one of my favorite things in the game. Whether you're fighting the regular enemies that are kind of bigger or you're fighting the bosses, it's just amazing how they integrated how you use the Sheikah Slate with the combat and the flow of it in order to get like a weak point and everything. It does not need to copy the battle system. That's not what I want. I just want the battles to be kind of dynamic, kind of like how they put that in there. And I think that some of the ideas that they have in Age of Calamity could definitely fit well for certain bosses or certain things in the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel. And number 1, no weapon breaking and or a blacksmith for forging. So this has always been a very hit and miss type of thing, hot and cold, black or white for some people. So either you like it or you don't. Some people are indifferent, but most of the time it's either one or the other. So here would be my suspected proposal. What I would love to see is that no weapon breaking, right? Because that's one of the best things about Age of Calamity. I mean, obviously they had to make sure that there was no weapon breaking in Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, because then you'd be breaking your weapon way too much. They'd have to make it to where it was just super durable, because you're always hitting people in that game. It's not like Breath of the Wild where there's a lot more exploration in the game. You're always just hitting stuff. So what I would like to see is that if they're going to go with the no weapon breaking route, fine by me. No weapon breaking at all. Cool, no problem. But if they are going to go with the weapon breaking route, one, they should make the weapons just default more stronger, or stronger just in general, right? Like, I don't think like the Master Sword should run out of energy. So that's the one thing that I didn't like, is like there shouldn't be like running out of energy. And then sometimes there's huge weapons that barely last that long unless you have the durability upgrade on there, which is random. You don't pick that. There might be some ways to farm it or get it, but you don't pick those for the most part with the durability upgrade. So having a blacksmith, if you're going to go with weapon breaking, having a blacksmith in the game that can fortify weapons, that can fuse weapons, put upgrades on them so they last a lot longer, so you can fix them up. I mean, or how about you put like a mod to where it won't break at all, or maybe even like weapon denigration to where it's not completely broken, you still have the weapon, but it has significantly reduced damage on that weapon because it's so dull or whatever the case. So you need to go like sharpen the blade and stuff like that. So I feel like it can be like a dual thing here. if they do have weapon breaking in the game, put a blacksmith in there so we can do things to save the weapons that we like and to upgrade and to do all that, so we don't have to rely upon chance when it comes to the durability upgrades and some of the other attributes that are put towards weapons. But the other thing is just not have weapon breaking at all. So hopefully they put either or in the game. I'd be fine with either one of those. So what are you guys' thoughts on my 5 things that the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel can take, steal, use, borrow from Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Check out the links in the description. We've got Twitter. Go and give us a follow on there. Stay updated on all the latest gaming news and information. Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you can. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.